celebration of humanity in action. We gather not just to listen, but to be transformed by a life dedicated to turning compassion into concrete change. In this space, we honor those who see darkness and chose to become light bearers. Prepare to meet a warrior of hope whose work whispers to every soul. Service is the rent you pay for your place on earth. We cannot do all great things, but we can do small things with great love. This timeless truth lives in the heart of our next speaker, who turned small acts into a tidal wave of transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my profound honor to introduce a beacon of social change. For over 4 decades, she has redefined what it means to build futures from fragments of despair. Before she joins us, witness how love in action writes its own epic. I now request the technical team to roll out the film, showcasing our next speaker's journey.
True service begins when we see dignity in every life and potential in every struggle. In empowering others, we discover the deepest purpose of our own. She walks into forgotten spaces with nothing but compassion. No fanfare, no spotlight, only a promise to listen, to uplift, and to build. Where others saw poverty, she saw potential. Where hope seemed lost, she planted roots of dignity, of art, of identity. In the weaving hands of rural women, in the curious eyes of children in government schools, in the quiet strength of communities long neglected, she found her purpose and turned service into a way of life. For over 4 decades, her journey has been grounded not in titles, but in trust, not in applause, but in impact. She reminds us all that when we honor tradition, enable expression, and invest in the invisible, we don't just transform communities, we awaken them. She is not just a social worker, she is a builder of life, a preserver of culture, and a bridge between hope and reality. Her journey began with a simple belief that every human being, no matter where they are born, deserves dignity. Through Awaaz, she gave shelter and strength to the urban poor, not just homes, but foundations for better futures. Through Dwarka, she revived the ancient art of Kalamkari, and in doing so, gave rural women artisans the power to earn, to express, and to lead. And through the Drick Foundation, she turned art into activism, using creativity as a tool for change in some of the country's most neglected spaces. Today, she is shaping the future through ARC, Arts, Rights and Communities, India's first of its kind learning center that brings heritage and history into the hands of the underprivileged children, helping them discover the beauty and power in their roots. She is famous not for seeking recognition, but for restoring identity, enabling independence, and reminding all that real change starts with compassion, creativity, and courage. For her decades of dedicated service, she has received many honors, most notably the Padma Shri in 2011, awarded by President Pratibha Patil for her outstanding contributions to social work and community empowerment. She's also been recognized as Bengaluru Citizen of the Year and received the Mahila Sadhaki Award, the Jean Harris Award from Rotary International, the Kempegeoda Award, the Women Achiever Award from Ladies Circle, India, and a Lifetime Achievement Award from Thana. Each award stands as a reflection for lives transformed, traditions revived, and hope restored. When service becomes a way of life and compassion meets action, true change is born. Not in headlines, but in hearts. Not just in awards, but in lives uplifted. She is a change maker, a culture keeper, a voice for unheard. Join your hands together as we proudly welcome Padma Shri awardee Ms. Anita Reddy to My Mic Season 6 2025, hosted by RNS MBA.
I choose round of applause. Students, kindly be seated. Faculty and student coordinators, kindly ensure that the students are seated in the places allotted to them.
Namaskara. Thank you for this extremely humbling introduction. And even more, thank you especially to the lead team who came and invited me today. And with a special mention of Kavya, who determinedly called me number of times. A big thank you to all of you, because even talking to 100 young youth is always a very inspiring moment. So I'm happy to be here with you and share some thoughts that move from what we heard the earlier speaker so inspiringly tell us about real life to now what I believe has been real life for me for the past 50 years, if not longer. I stand before you all of 70 years today, but not feeling very much older than many of you in the audience. And the reason is simple. It's just that when we give ourselves to a cause or to someone else, there's no time to count your own days and your own years. So I want to start with a picture of Panjalama, a lady par excellence who always motivated me. And I like to dedicate whatever I share with others to those who have inspired and touched my own life. So let me say that if we were to look at Gandhiji's talisman, which says that when you don't know what you want to do with yourself, look at the weakest person you have ever seen and see what you can do for them. But here, when I show you Panjalama's picture, I want to say that she perhaps is one of the strongest women I've ever known. She built your Vidhana Sauda. Her family members put their blood into the bricks of Vidhana Sauda, the center that determines who we are, where we sit and where we go. Panjalama had a role to play. And therefore, I think it's a good time to dedicate what we're going to share today to a woman like Panjalama. So, having said that, I also want to quote from Nelson Mandela, who said that poverty is not an accident. Like slavery and appetite, it is man-made and can be removed if all of us decide that we want to remove poverty. I think it's important to draw our own attention into why we are listening to this conversation today. So I have a few slides as I move along to share about what life was like, the real life out there, which I need not have opted for because I came from a very protected family, a wonderful boarding school, had a great college education, lived in the US, came back to Bangalore, walked into a slum and never looked back. So here you have three people on the screen, and all these three people have a story to tell. I don't know how many of you wake up to a challenge every day. How many of you would find a baby crying in the garbage bin? Or how many walk into a violent situation and have a country-made bomb go off? Or just see a starving man crying on the streets of Bangalore? If you do, next time, stop and ponder. But this one story, we'll get back to the others a little later, but this one story I have is of Manjula and Mangama. And this particular slide I took one night as I left for Bombay. There was a big meeting in Nariman Point, and I was supposed to talk on affordable housing. I had spent 25 years through an organization that we founded called Avas in slums, understanding the poor in the city, understanding who they were. But just a word about what affordable housing is all about. when we have it in big halls and talk about people like Manjula. She would have had 2 children with her today, except that one baby was dragged away by a small stray dog when she slept. Very simple. This house had no door, it had no roof, it had no shelter, and yet that is a shelter for hundreds of people in our city today. Now, let's just take a look at why all these people that I've been sharing stories about are not people that are really looked upon. Why are they invisible to all of us? What is it that we miss in a point when a bulldozer is sent to rake down 50 houses? Huts they may be, but they are homes. They are homes to people. And they are homes to what kind of people? They are homes to brickmakers, construction workers, drivers, auto rickshaw drivers, children being looked after in your home by them, ayahs, cooks, just name it. And they are the people who live in communities like this. And yet this city has no space for that labor that forms the backbone of the very nature of this city. So what happens most often? They are considered an eyesore because the huts are not pretty for the city and they are asked to be moved away. I'm talking on a daily challenge that I have faced for the last 50 years, every single day waking up to some calamity or another. I have one question for all of you. Answer it now or tell me after I finish talking. You see a picture on the screen and do you, like many others, wrinkle your nose and say, oh God, how dirty? Or do you stare at those children and say that there is a fragrance about those children and that there is no opportunity for them to be in a school? Do you stop to think when you see children rummaging through garbage bins that they too, like us, want an opportunity? If we pledge that we can give them an opportunity, one teacher, one student, we can still do it. So this is to wake us up to the fact that creating opportunities must be one of our challenges. Let me get down to my story very quickly. This community was called Lakshmipuram, and I think it was way before your time because I walked into this community in 1978 and there were about 120 families living here. You can see the condition, you can see the way they lived in this very congested space in Indiranagar, an elite community on Chinmaya Mission Hospital Road, catering to everybody who live in Indiranagar. This was the slum. Some of you live in Indiranagar. Your parents may remember it the way it was. I walked into this community one day and I thought to myself, is there something I can do? I had plenty of time on my hands because I had come down and settled down to a homemaker's life. I was able to take care of things at home and find the time to be able to give something of myself otherwise too. So I chose on this community. It was in the neighborhood that I lived. And I dropped out of my master's in social work, but I very soon discovered my classroom in the graveyard opposite Lakshmipuram. I had umpteen lessons to learn from this single graveyard, which becomes the toilet in the morning for most of our people, which remains the space where we get buried one day. And by evening, it became our conference hall, because we had no place to sit. If 20 of us wanted to meet like this and have a conversation on what we can do better for people, we had no place to sit. So the graves became our conference hall. That is where we sat, and that is where we learned how to discuss, have meetings, give of ourselves and see what we can do. So, as you can see, life was a tic-tac-toe board, and the poor never won in the city. You could never make sure that the 3 crosses or the 3 zeros came in one line, because there was always a calamity. It was a flood, it would be a fire, it would be a demolition, it would be an eviction. It would be just about anything that pulled the poor out from where they survived. And this was the reality. Every picture you see is taken from the ground actually. And so it became important that we don't give up when we are faced with problems, especially when the poor have so many problems on their plate and they're barely surviving, and they are the ones who form the backbone of the urban economy in our cities. Then it just becomes so imperative and important that they have to live a secure life too. So for them to do that, they have to participate. If they do not participate in their own decision making, in what they want as something that's an answer to their secure, dignified living, what we give them as the doles for charity, ayo papa, these poor things, they have nothing, we have to give. It's not an ayo papa situation here. It really is one of creating opportunities, understanding that it's absolute lack of opportunity and nothing else that keeps the poor the way they are. So it's up to us to pledge to create those opportunities. And if you do, and if you take the challenge up, and challenges were not simple. We had knives to our back, we had kerosene can throwing, wielding people at us, we were stoned in one of the communities, we were actually put against the wall in another community with a knife to our back. All this because the land in which the poor make their home is of a commoditized value. The land on which the poor live, and that's a fraction of the land of the city, just a very small fraction. They have no space to live in the city with security, and when you go to try and help them, you become the victim of the system and the society. And we have been at the brunt facing many of these problems directly. I mean, I'm fortunate that I'm still here to talk to all of you. But Lakshmipuram people built their own homes, they came together, they borrowed money from HUDCO, they worked with the city corporation, they worked with the government, they made their bricks, they came together, and this particular housing won the National Habitat Award. And it's all about the people themselves, apart from many other awards that these people got. So we go on to say how the MRS Palia slum becomes something like this. You can convert this on Nandidurg Road to better homes, better places, better living spaces, to security and dignity. And so it goes on. I have innumerable, I've just picked 4 of them. Here is Wahab Garden Slum, again near Nandidurg Road. And here we have Janashakti Nagar. We renamed it from Hoskera Halli Slum, near Pesit College. All these communities came under the thing of bulldozers. Not one of them had the right to the land. Not one of them had a right to the home they lived in. Not one of them had access to proper education. Not one of them had right to health or any of the basic needs that we talk about. Today, again, this one another award. Today, these are the people who are making the change, and they have become change makers. Their children are now going to colleges like all of you. They are doing BCom, they're working in Gallagher, they're working in other Infosys and other big things. So these are the same people who got the opportunity, and these opportunities were created through various systems. Just a word about rural poverty, in case you've all forgotten the roots of rural poverty sitting in the city. Rural poverty can be exhausting because apart from everything else that you don't have and the class differences that you go through, there's a huge amount of caste difference. And I have seen people having to sweep their shadow when the sun sets and move backwards out of a village because they belong to a caste that's so-called lower caste. There are endless number of stories. This is factually true. I'm a field worker, so I'm not making up stories. And this is exactly what has happened in Chittoor district. So we brought it all together. A small point on where I started my life. It started in this thatched hut. My own life began here in a village called Pulchella. And the one man that inspired me right through, who turned out to be the #1 confectionery industry in this country, who passed on recently. His name is Dwaraknath Reddy. The company was Nutrien, and he grew up from a very humble background. In fact, I thought I must share how we can grow from very humble backgrounds. We can clean our company floors, we can sit on the floor, we can be a floorman before being a chairman. But when you become a chairman, especially if you're selling sweets, my father would always say from 10 paisa, I put 5 paisa apart for my family and 5 paisa separately in my pocket for the children of Bharat. And all the 5 paisas came together to be able to create innumerable institutions and innumerable changes, something close to 50 crores of rupees today. So we reached out, and I'll go through this fast. So we learned not to shut. Okay, we have. Yeah, we learn not to shut our eyes to the obvious. And when we don't shut our eyes to the obvious or go to the right schools, I have 3 minutes, so I'm going to go through it, 10 seconds a slide, I guess. I just want to know, I heard the earlier speaker talk about dreams. All of you have dreams, everyone has dreams, and so does this young boy. He has dreams too. And he dreamt that one day he would be sitting in an auditorium like this and he would be the speaker in a mic like this. And he became just that. Because your covenant of rights, your human rights, everything protects this child from the poverty that he is going through. But we really don't want to face it. So I'm just running through these. This is an institution we have built up like the Rishi Valley I went to. It's near Chikbalapur. Welcome all of you to this institution. We run a free school. There are hundreds of children. We do lots of things for the communities, the farmers. It's the closest spot we are to all of you. So please come and see what kind of a change is possible when you really want to set your heart to it. Here we've used cultural empowerment as a tool. It's a career option. Many of them have gone to theatre, drama, and they've moved ahead. Well, here we are starting Chipko movements, working with nature. We fought the food security bill. Our children fought the food security bill through this lesson that we taught our children. And they're all sitting in big positions today. So whether it's water, whether it's reuse, well, I'm just running through it now. There's nothing more to share, I guess. I had a film for you. I'll skip the film also. This is the film. Maybe I'll just skip it. And yeah, the girl who was found in the dustbin became a women's leader. and she leads the team. She's the child you first saw in the dustbin, the man you found on the street crying with hunger. Today runs, he's no longer, but that organization runs a 2.5 crore empire for themselves. It belongs to the artist, to the artisan, to the village, to the people, and there's nobody else there. And that's a 2.5 crore business. And I guess above all, yeah, we have rewritten history, and I hope together we can continue to rewrite history. Thank you so much for your patience, and I apologize.
Dr. Anita Reddy. As you could see, ma'am has been instrumental. Thank you for being a dignified audience. Ma'am has been successful in transforming lives, as the slide spoke her transformative story and making the immense impact in the country. A huge round of applause to Ma'am Anita Reddy for gracing MyMind Season 6 and being a part of an inspiring address that I'm sure has touched the souls of many. Thank you once again, ma'am.